Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Hey Lobo fans, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Samantha.
Jaguar Land Rover Albuquerque has been a family-owned business since 1988. The 2017 Jaguar F-Pace has been named the winner of the 2017 World Car of the Year and World Car Design of the Year.
Land Rover's signature terrain response system is flawless against any curveball New Mexico weather can throw at you.
We have a class-leading extended warranty on all Jags and Land Rovers and one of the greatest pre-owned inventories in the state of New Mexico.
Call 505-797-3600 to schedule a test drive.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the Sports Desk. Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez. We have the crew here. Alden Iowani, our fine director, producer, audio guy, you name it, he does it. We're going to recap the NMAA State High School Baseball and Softball Championships. We're also going to talk some Lobo baseball, but in the meantime, we have a special guest in store here. Fred Holtberg, the executive director of the New Mexico Games, is our guest. And Fred, it's that time of year. You've already had the opening ceremonies. Tell us a little bit about that first.
Well, we actually had 2 sports which we've never done before, held before I didn't want to do this, but you know, the commissioners, that's the only time they could fit it in, so we did arm wrestling just a few days before that, and then we also did badminton on the same weekend, and they both went pretty good. Badminton was about the same. We were down in numbers in arm wrestling, but you know, that goes every year. We get 100 maybe in arm wrestling. Next year it's 50, then it's 100. We never know, but we were happy. Everybody had a great time, and of course the opening ceremonies turned out great. Coach Ware showed up to be our guest speaker.
How big is that?
You know, that was great. I mean, for him to do that for us was unbelievable because, you know, he's trying to find recruits right now, and for him to take the time and yeah, I met him at the softball game. He was there. He took about 10 minutes out. He was just beat up, you know, in his office, and he came out and got a little sun and came over, and so that's how I got him to speak at the opening ceremonies.
There you see some of the attire that we have here. We got special swag right in front of us.
Yeah,
explain the shirts and talk about these beautiful trophies.
Yeah, I wanted to show everybody what we do. We give out, this is the shirt that every athlete will get, and so every athlete will get this shirt, and then they'll also get a drawstring bag, which I told you that we haven't got them in yet. They got tied up in China, so I'm hoping we have 2 weeks to go that they'll come back. So they'll get the bag, they'll get the shirt. Here's what the volunteers get, a really neat shirt that the volunteers will get. Of course, then I got to show you these medals. These medals are just extra special. They're beautiful medals. They're so heavy.
I was going to say they are not light.
Yeah, and
they are not light at all. Those are outstanding.
They really are. And the lanyard is, you know, that's really important to have a nice lanyard too. And the lanyard, you can see how nice it is in the red, white, and blue. We're patterned after the Olympics. Gold,
yeah, I was going to say it's an Olympic medal.
Yeah, it's Olympic medal. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of shows you, you know, what we do. Of course, we have the posters that we display throughout the city. We have the registration book that you have in front of you. You can go online to NewMexicoGames.org and you can pull everything up. We do have a couple of changes that happened at the last minute in the book, and I'll make those changes. The one was judo. It's now going to be on the 24th, not the 17th. We've always had karate judo at the same time, but we made that change, and pretty much everything else is the same. But it's but I think what we do for what we give for what people pay, they pay anywhere from Scott, from $15 to $30, depending on how many medals they get and how what they can compete in, how many events they can compete in, and stuff like that. So it's a fun thing that we've done for like I've done it now 26 years out of 28. It's been a long time.
That's amazing. Fred Holtberg, the executive director of the New Mexico Games, our guest here. What goes into putting this together? Because one of the things about this, it started last week with a couple of events and the opening ceremonies. It'll continue going on all the way till November. So that's 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you have to do is you have to, first of all, you're looking ahead, probably 3-4 months ahead at least, getting your facilities. That's important to get all your facilities. Of course, you got to get it cleared with your commissioners, whether you're going to have those commissioners around, because I have 4 or 5 of them that have been around with me since the start. But then I also have like new commissioners. I have a couple new commissioners this year for swimming and for volleyball, and so I have to make sure I have commissioners, because if it's not for the commissioners, the games don't go on. They run the sports. That's the most important thing. It's not me that runs it. I just kind of coordinate it, give them volunteers, and stuff like that to make sure they have enough help. And of course, so I mean, when you start out around January, and you work and get that stuff done, and then now I've been working with the commissioners about every week or two, making sure they've got everything they need, how many volunteers they need, what are they going to do, give me an estimate of how many people are going to be at their games so I can figure out how many shirts, how much of this and that we need. And so it's kind of a gauge. You just gauge yourself with what you're doing and stuff. So it's but it can be a year round, because bowling, I was just telling you, is my last event. That starts in September. We have pickleball at that time too, but pickleball is done on a weekend. Bowling, they do qualifiers. Steve Mackey, he does a qualifier starting in September. He finishes in November.
That's over 10 pins over in Rio Rancho.
Yeah.
So
we've had that there for quite a few years.
Which is a great facility, by the way.
Yeah. No, it is.
What are some of the events coming up? And tell the folks how to get tickets for the events if they want to come out and watch.
Well, there's not many places that we do charge, just so you know. Basketball, we charge $5, and that's for all day. And if you go to any AAU basketball tournament, you're going to pay at least $5 or more. And we think that's very fair. And so we do charge for that. We do charge for karate and judo. We charge $5 for that. Gosh, I'm trying to think of anything else. We will charge a gate fee for volleyball. They want to charge a gate fee for volleyball. Now, some of these sports we don't really collect anything from, because we're letting the booster clubs keep the money and stuff to help promote their sports. That's another thing we do. We help out a lot of the high schools that help us out. So we'll give money to their boosters club to help them out if we can, for their help in helping us run the games.
So where are some of these events coming up?
You said when or where?
When and where?
Well,
actually,
they start up again. Basketball is the next thing that they start up, and then we'll have basketball and we'll have beach wrestling, and that's going to go on in the same weekend. And beach wrestling's at the 66 Bowl, where the Lobo women play outdoor volleyball. And then throughout the whole summer, we'll have 16 more sports that go on throughout the whole summer at different places. Now, we always like to thank APS, because they let us do track and field at Milne. They let us use the high schools. Then we thank, of course, UNM to use Johnson Gym, and then, of course, all the schools. We use 5 schools and Johnson Gym for basketball, because we have about 230 teams in basketball. So now, as far as private schools, we use Sandia Prep. Ed Nunes, who's going to be on your show shortly, he's the director over at Manzano Mesa, and he manages that Manzano Mesa Multicultural. We did badminton over there, so and we'll do. They built new pickleball courts over where his facility is.
Nice.
And so we'll be using pickleball over there. So we thank the city, we thank APS, we thank all the private schools like Hope. We use Hope High School. Everybody's been great. Everybody's great. Loneliness facilities, and that's the biggest problem, is trying to work around other events.
Well, anything else that you'd like to add?
Well,
we have you on?
I think I'd just like to give my number out. It's 263-8513, and you can call me anytime you want to find out anything about. I know that this show, I don't know when it's going to air, so it's probably going to be too late for the deadline for basketball. It's only 2 days away, the deadline. But well,
actually, the air is tonight. So,
it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the deadline
airs tonight on both Proview networks
we're trying
and
to hold back
on
until
Comcast 26.
Okay, so we're trying to hold back till, I think it's the, I'm confused what day, what is today? I don't even know.
It is the 16th.
The 16th, so that means that this is Tuesday. That means the 18th.
That's Thursday.
Would be Thursday.
Yeah.
That we're going to stop it right then and start doing the scheduling on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It takes us that long to do it, and then you can go to NewMexicoGames.org and look up all this that I mentioned that's in this book. This will give you all the dates throughout the whole year for the New Mexico Games, and I think that's pretty much it. We honored our female and male athletes out there at the games too, and we do that every year. So we'll be looking for new female and male athletes this year.
Well, Fred, I want to thank you so much as always for coming on here. Keep up the great work.
Okay. Well, thank you, and shake your hand there.
And keep Marty in check on 101.7, would you?
Yeah, I will. I'll do that for sure. Thanks.
Sounds good. Fred
Okay,
Holtberg,
Scott.
he hosts a show on Saturday on 101.7 The Team. He's also the executive director of the New Mexico Games. We will come back with Ed Nunez out of the break, but first, the top 10 plays of the week, brought to you by Dave & Buster's.
Tech. And this one way up to right field. Man, looking at the wall, cannot make the play. And it's a 2-1. And Little could have put this up to left field. And this one gone. It's a 3-run shot by Grant Little. Just like that, Texas Tech right back in it. This to right field. This is deep. That gone. The solo shot for Orlando Garcia. Over first, the line fires a fastball, and this is belted to left field, deep at the wall. Katana can't get there, and it's a 2-run shot for Hunter Hargrove. This one smashed to right field, and it is gone. 3-run bomb, absolutely hammered. And Simpson scores. Bottom half.
Coming on the dive, makes the play.
Nice play.
Put a star on that one out and left. Still going back. And he makes a running catch in right center field. What a play by Tatum. Put a star on that one. Yeah.
West Conference play. Runner's going to go here. This belted out to center field deep. I don't know. Luis Gonzalez all the way at the right. This is hammered to left field. Looking up is Grant Little, and it's gone. A 2-run shot, a 3-run shot. Excuse me, for Carl Stajahan. And it's 11-8. How about the 11th bomb this year for Carl Stajahan? On the fire, and this one is blasted deep to center. All the way back at the wall, and it's a solo shot for Jared Mang, straightaway center. He bombed
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewnetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Altitude Sports Grill is where Albuquerque's sports fans won't miss a game. With locally crafted brews on tap and refreshingly crisp cocktails. Located in Hotel Cascada, Albuquerque residents find a staycation worth staying for. Catching Lobo sports, enjoying a beer on the beach, or wiping out, Hotel Cascada is home to your urban adventure. Affordable guest rooms, no-hassle water park parties, and much more.
Visit the Frontier Restaurant. Due to heavy construction on Central, take lead or coal coming north or south. The Frontier Restaurant. Get your Frontier fix on.
I am never getting married. Never. Guaranteed.
You picked a beautiful ring.
Thank you. We're never having kids.
I love it here.
We are never moving to the suburbs. We are never getting one of those. We're never having another kid.
I'm pregnant.
I'm never letting go.
For all the nevers in life, talk to State Farm agent Michelle Rudolph or Marty Size in Albuquerque.
Garden Sorts Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. So maintaining this old car is your best option. Keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Bosque Running Shop understands the value of doing more than selling a product. We educate runners on the importance of proper running, footwear, and form. Analyzing foot stride, length of stride, arm and hip movements are essential for the right fit. Bosque Running Shop offers running clinics, injury prevention, and self-defense classes, along with a 15% discount for high school athletes. For the best in running and walking shoes, apparel, accessories, and customer service, visit us at www.bosquerunningshop.com. Bosque Running Shop understands the value.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez. Our thanks to Fred Hultberg from the New Mexico Games, the Executive Director, for joining us here on the opening segment. And now it's time to recap. Man, do we have enough time to recap, as it was a busy, busy week. track and field, 2 words, Jordan Bird. You got baseball, you got softball. Ed Nunez, where do you want to start?
Gosh, that's a lot. It's you mentioned Jordan Bird. I didn't get a chance to go out there. Marty Watts was texting me and saying that he thought he had a chance to break the record Saturday. This is before Saturday. You mentioned Bobby Newcomb, the former Highland Hornet track star, also the football star. And when he mentions names like that, that got my attention real quick. You know, we know how fast he is anyway. And this, as a freshman, I think we had him on the sports desk as a freshman. I'm pretty sure. He's a senior, and he's a junior now. So we had him on the sports desk 2 years ago, and he's going to come back for his senior season of football. But when you mention the word Jordan Bird and track the 100, everyone pretty much stands up and pays some attention.
Yeah,
so,
he's quick, and he's one of the quickest not only in the state but probably in the country.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And a lot of times when we talk about fast on the track, you don't hear New Mexico's name being mentioned. We've had some fine sprinters. You know, I mentioned Bobby Newcomb. We've had some great track runners in the past, and he definitely belongs up there in that company. So I know he had there was a wind aided on Saturday, I believe. Was it wind aided? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, the time was, I'm not sure if it was wind aided or not. The wind was blowing pretty good on Saturday. I know that because Roger Holian and I did the girls 6A softball championship at Lobo softball field, and the wind was really, really picking up. So I don't know if he was running against the wind or with, I'm not sure, at the University Track Stadium. Either way, that guy, we get to, the good thing is we get to watch him for one more year in football and track.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's still got a year left.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch, and watch out for opponents playing him this year in football. Let's go over softball first. We'll go over A3A. And Dexter, the number 2 seed, defeating Loving, the number 1 seed, 5-4. 5-4. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? Again, Dexter and Loving. I think those smaller school classes. I did some PA out there at Rio Rancho on Wednesday, and I got to see a lot of smaller school baseball. So Dexter and Loving. I mean, Dexter Demons, I believe. So anytime you win a blue trophy, and I didn't get to see much of that class, but that's a close game, 5-4, and probably went down to the last out, the last runner, the last at bat. So when it's 5-4 like that, people are on their pins and needles to see who's going to win that game.
In 4A, we actually had a if game, and it was Cobre losing to Silver 7-5, and Silver won the championship game 4-3. So the top-rated Silver team victorious.
Well, the if games are always kind of iffy. So, yeah, you never know. Now, I was supposed to have an if game on Saturday. That didn't, La Cueva managed to defeat Oñate for the championship, so they didn't have that if game. But I'll tell you one thing about Silver, the champions. Yeah, so, again, if you lose, you have to, there's a lot of adversity you have to go through if you come through the loser's bracket. There's no question. So give the Fighting Colts some credit.
Yeah, and they ended up going through a loser's bracket, I think, to get there because they had lost to Cobre head-to-head in the second round, and then they had to play their way to the championship round. So the number 1 team actually needed to go through the loser's bracket and then the F game.
That's what I mean. So just because you're ranked number 1, that doesn't mean that adversity is not going to hit at some point in the season. And I'll tell you one thing that it
is so hard getting through the loser's bracket, too.
No,
so,
man.
I mean, credit to them for winning out of the loser's bracket.
You know what? You have to use bodies, pitchers. There's so many things that have to go right. You're right. Everyone's tired. Everyone's kind of, happy because the bench players get to play, too, because you have to use a lot of people. But by the time you get there, sometimes you just don't have the energy to complete the task. So give the Fighting Colts a lot of credit. They did. Give them a lot of credit there.
And in 5A, it was a 1-2 matchup. Number 1 Aztec defeating number 2 Artesia 7-2.
So right there on the field before my game or our game that we were covering with La Cueva and Oñate, and that was real exciting to see the fan reaction of the Aztec fans and the Artesia fans. I'm telling you, that field there at Santa Ana, the softball field, a lot of attendance for both Artesia and Aztec, and then La Cueva and Oñate the following game. So that's exciting. Anytime a blue trophy, I don't care what it's in, swimming, whatever, track, you have to feel it's a mission. And when the kids get there, I still get goosebumps in watching the celebration.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I do too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I really do, because, you know, 25, 30 years
Heck, I
from
get
now,
goosebumps for the Metro Championship when they put on the blue T-shirts.
Right. You know, because 25, 30 years from now, you know, they'll be bragging. They'll have some bragging rights. You remember when we won that, and what was the journey? What was the mission like? How did we win it? They'll be, and then now, see, back when you and I played, there was hardly any video capturing that or any audio. Now they have, you know, they have us. They have the NFHS.
There's an 8mm film.
Right.
There wasn't even VHS at that time.
Some grainy stuff you might see that you really can't make out. You're like, is that a player there? So now at least they have some audio recordings and some visuals that they can watch the rest of their lives. I think I really think that's great. I really do.
Yeah, it really is. Now back to the game that you did on Saturday, the 6A championship game. We're going to look at some highlights here also, but the La Cueva Bears finished off their magical season undefeated as they defeated Oñate, the defending state champions, by a score of 5-0, so no if game needed.
Well, you know what? I want to give Fernie Valles and the Oñate Knights a lot of credit for even getting there. Last year, they lost 6 seniors, so a lot of people, I think, counted them out as far as being in the championship round. They had to win an if game. They lost to Hobbs, and they came back and they won. So I had to give them a lot of credit for even being there. I think they had gotten swept earlier in the year by La Cueva on March 4th. They got swept in a doubleheader, 8-1 and 10-0. But I really felt, in reading the paper, they felt confident going in there. But confident is one thing, and then playing against a juggernaut is quite another. And so La Cueva being undefeated, 27-0, going into that game, it's hard to be, to remain undefeated. You have a target on your back. But let me tell you this, Kendra Keybone pitched an outstanding game for La Cueva. Outstanding. Shut them out. I'm going to say this too, that Cristina Gutierrez of Oñate held them to 1 run over 4 1/3. They can't get any better than that.
Right.
And La Cueva gets 2 bunt singles, and then sandwiched around a 2-run homer by Andrea Howard, and the floodgates open a little bit. They beat them 5-0. But it wasn't as if that Murderers Row lineup scored 15, 20 runs. But I'm going to say this too about La Cueva, and I was just talking to Adam Deal about this. As far as the way they execute, the way they play defensively, that is one of the best teams I've ever seen, because they almost want to. They're not afraid when the ball comes to them. They throw it to the right base. They take the extra base. They make sound decisions on the field. And I think we mentioned they also had 5 All-Stars from Eastdale on that team. 5 already signed to college Division I scholarships. You know, Coach Ron Romero, he did a great job. He did an outstanding job. So that is a team, I'll tell you what, I was very impressed with. You know, the wind blew out a lot, but I'm going to say this too, though. Cristina Gutierrez from Oñate, very gutty performance. Very gutty in holding that lineup to 1 run over 4 1/3.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights of that game, the 6A softball championship. And Ed, take it away.
That's Andrea Howard's the wind-blown home run, and it's always said right to right center field there, and it just got over, Scott, and that wind just aided it, and you could tell this Coach Romero.
Isn't it cool seeing people in the seats in the outfield, by the way?
Oh, you know what? That's another thing too. So look at them. I think they felt there, and the single up the middle there. And these are, you know, they aren't hit particularly hard, taking the extra base. There's McAllister, the catcher, scoring in the end of the game there with the Bears securing the blue trophy for the 6A softball championship. So I'll tell you what, they didn't do a lot. They didn't score 20 runs or 15 runs. That's a good team, though. To beat them, you know what? How do you beat them? That's what I want to know if you're the opposing team. But again, I think Fernie Valles coached his last game. I think that was it for him. But you know what? Give him credit. They won a title, and he got them back to the championship game minus 6 seniors. So I think you have to really give him a lot of credit.
And we talked about that with the target on the back last week on the show with La Cueva. Them being undefeated, they had a target on their back. It didn't matter. They seemed to roll through, maybe not so much 5-0, not a blowout, but I mean, they did what it took to win. That's a sign, like you said, of a very good team.
Well, I think one of the things is some teams chafe under having the target on their back. They're kind of like, I don't want to make, you know, they're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. This is a different team. It's almost as if they take on any challenge, and it's a personal one. Like, we got here, we're 27-0. You have to beat us. We're very confident. We respect you. But you know what? You're not going to, there's no way you're going to beat us.
Right.
And this is the way, like I said, they fielded the ball. I love the way they execute. That's a very good team. Hats off to the Bears for the 6A championship, but also I have to give Oñate a lot of credit for even getting to that championship game. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be there.
La Cueva beat number 9 Carlsbad 15-6 in the first round. Number 12 Cleveland 8-1 in the second round. Their closest game was actually in the semifinals, if you will, as it was their third game of 4 as they defeated Hobbs 5-4.
That was a very close game there, and sure had some people kind of a little bit nervous because a one-run game, you never know what's going to happen. A margin of error is very slim. But the Bears, as I mentioned, they're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to make the errors. Like I said, I mentioned Kendrick Keybone was just outstanding. We mentioned Gutierrez for Oñate, but Kendrick Keybone, shut him out. Shut out. I think they had 4 hits total, Oñate.
And that Hobbs team that they beat 5-4 was also the team that beat Oñate to force Oñate to go to a if game scenario.
Right. So I think no one was real surprised, Scott, that the Bears came out on top with that championship. I don't think anybody was surprised, but the only drama was can they maintain and finish a 28-0 season, and they did.
Right.
And Coach Romero, after the game, just a very class individual, was very, very gracious, very happy. And when you win like that, you don't forget. It's hard to ever duplicate a season like that. It really is. How do you sit there and say we're going to go? When do undefeated seasons happen? Not too often. But I'll tell you what, he was very relaxed and so gracious after the game. He really was.
We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we are going to talk about baseball, the championships that happened over the weekend. You're watching the Sports Desk.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Los Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. So maintaining this old car is your best option. Keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Bosque Running Shop understands the value of doing more than selling a product. We educate runners on the importance of proper running footwear and form. Analyzing foot stride, length of stride, arm and hip movements are essential for the right fit. Bosque Running Shop offers running clinics, injury prevention, and self-defense classes, along with a 15% discount for high school athletes. For the best in running and walking shoes, apparel, accessories, and customer service, visit us at www.bosquerunningshop.com.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Our thanks to Fred Holtberg from the New Mexico Games. He is the executive director for joining us here in segment number 1. Time now to shift gears. We talked about the softball playoffs. Now it's time, Ed, to talk about the baseball championships. And, man, we saw some outstanding games. And the good news was everyone got to play at Isotopes Park this year.
You know what?
First time in a long time that every division got to play in the championship game there. We've had a couple of years where maybe 6A's played there and maybe a semifinal game or two, but this is the first time in at least 3 or 4 years that I can remember that all the games were played there.
You know what, Scott, I think if we look at it, we always talk about going down the ramp at the pit. So you think baseball players want to go to Isotopes Park and play there and go to the dugout, and what a beautiful place. You know, what's one thing Albuquerque has done right is building. I love that place. I really do. So how excited were the A and AA and, the 6A have played there before, but even the 4A and the 5, how excited are you when you go out there and see a manicured outfield and infield and, you're looking at, and it's not the big leagues, but for them it is. So
Yeah.
I'm certainly glad that all classes got a chance to play there. That's great.
Well, I had a chance to do the A2A game on Friday, and I'll tell you what, this was a marvelous game between Lordsburg, the #1 seed, and Mesilla Valley. How about 3-2 going into the 7th, and Lordsburg puts up 10 runs to put that game away?
I read in the paper where Lordsburg shortstop Johnny Plowman, who also was the quarterback and forward for the basketball
And he
team.
was the winning pitcher, by the way.
He mentioned that his brother played in the state championship years ago and they lost, so he wanted to get a little bit of revenge. And Johnny, they had an excellent team. I did some PA at Rio Rancho the other night and watched Lordsburg play, and they played very well. And Johnny Plowman was the catalyst behind. They have some other good players, Cuevas.
They have a lot of good players, but Plowman was the guy. He started on the mound. He ended up making the final put out at the end of the game at shortstop. He was our post-game interview guest, and he said, hey, he showed off his rings. He had the ring from football. He had the ring from basketball. He said, I wanted a third. We wanted a third. All the guys that played on those other two sports, he said, we wanted a ring. So that was their mission. They wanted to get the three-peat, and they got it.
Well, I remember the football game down there in Fort Sumner. Tom Dragmeister and I covered the championship down there, and he was their quarterback. And, you know, they overcame some adversity there as well, winning that championship. Johnny Plowman, look, people don't understand.
He's an outstanding athlete.
You do. A lot of other people, you know, the people at Proview understand that sometimes you go by classes, and yes, 6A and 5A. Sometimes you're going to see some really fine athletes at the lower levels, and Johnny Plowman is definitely one of them. Like I said, I think he was the forward in basketball, the quarterback, the pitcher,
shortstop.
This guy
he can play every field, by the way, but he's primarily a shortstop.
You have to wonder if he's gotten any offers.
Because when he got off the mound, he actually moved to third before moving to shortstop. So he played 3 positions just in that game alone.
He'll probably play the outfield, too. I'm sure he's one of those utility guys that has 10 gloves that he uses, first base. You know, he'd probably play catcher. Fine athlete. So Lordsburg breaking it over. A tight game open. I saw Mesilla Valley as well. They had some good players, too. So
yeah, they had an outstanding starting pitcher. And once Lordsburg got to the bullpen, it was tough for Mesilla Valley to get the final out. I mean, most of the runs in that 10-run 7th inning came with 2 outs.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, I saw a lot of that.
That's a game where you feel bad for the team that loses, because that game was not a 10-2 or 10-3 game. 10-2 was 12-2 was the final score. That was a 3-2 game going into the 9th inning.
Sometimes
or 7th inning.
Floodgates open on 2-out rallies. I saw a lot of that as a PA announcer. I'm thinking, okay, this inning is almost over. All of a sudden, errors, hit batters, the whole thing, whole enchilada. Before you look up, you got 6 runs, or like you mentioned, 7 runs, and it happens.
And you saw the thing that was really tough for me to watch was the frustration of Mesilla Valley. They worked so hard. They had a couple of errors. They had a couple of runs that perhaps shouldn't have scored because of mishaps or just because of things that Mesilla Valley could have done to prevent it. You saw kids like kicking at the dirt, throwing their glove, and you just saw the frustration because it went from a game, hey, we had this, to, oh, we're done.
Well, you know, you see the frustration of 16, 17-year-old kids. You know, they want to get out of the inning, and did they hit the right cutoff? Did they throw to the right base? Did they execute the fundamentals? And a lot of times, look, and I'm laughing because I don't mean to laugh at them, but Scott, you've seen it. You've seen a lot of baseball. When things happen, all of a sudden the flood opens. You're like, oh man, if you'd just thrown to this base here, or thrown behind the guy here, or you know, covered the bag there, you'd have been out of the inning.
Well, here's the worst part, Ed, and that's a great point, because that's a lot of what we saw in that game on Friday. Because what I saw while I was doing the game was the kids from Mesilla Valley, as the game got closer and you were getting closer to that 7th inning, you're only down a run, you're trying to be too fine on that throw over to first, from second, from third, from short, and they were making errors. And it was plays that they were making routinely earlier in the game, and I think the pressure got to them.
Right. I think things that...
That's where you talk about the kid in what amounts to a small major league ballpark.
No, and that's an excellent point, because the moment, sometimes, you know, we mentioned that at the Pit, University Arena, the shooting depths are totally different. You see fans in the stands, your adrenaline is going 100 miles an hour. So I think it's the same thing on the Isotopes Park. You know, they're in a not a major league stadium. For them it is. Mesilla Valley, they don't get to play on venues like that. So your adrenaline's like just so hard.
It's basically the lower end, and then you got the upper deck on the left field side. It's basically a lower bowl of a major league park.
Right, for them, you bet.
And the dimensions are like most major league parks.
So that might have had something to do with it too. That you said that trying to be too correct, or trying to, and it ends up overthrown in the dirt So I feel I didn't see it, but I read it in the paper. But just by what you describe, I feel bad for Mesilla Valley. But you have to give Lordsburg a lot of credit.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a gritty bunch in football, basketball,
and it's
and
also
baseball.
a rivalry. They played each other in basketball. They played each other in baseball, and a lot of the kids know each other, like Johnny Plowman said on the postgame show. And back to what you were saying about Johnny Plowman and a lot of the guys playing different positions. Some of the guys in the booth were telling me, man, this is, this level is fun because these guys get to do what even some of the metro area teams don't get to do, or players, I should say. They have to play every sport to be able to field a team.
That's right.
I never thought of it that way, and it's like just to field a team, a lot of these guys are forced to play.
I don't know if you saw their lineman, Estrada. I can't remember his first name for Lordsburg. Big guy, number 75.
Right.
Everyone was kind of wondering to see if he was going to get in. He's their defensive lineman, defensive nose tackle, and offensive guard. I remember him. And he was in uniform, and I was kind of wondering if he'd get in. I didn't see him get in the game that I covered. But like you mentioned, everybody plays. You have to field. You have to have enough guys. So, but I'll tell you one thing: that Lordsburg group seems like a tight-knit group throughout all the sports that they do play together. They seem, and that's one of those things.
Well, Plowman said after the game, he said, "Hey, we're a family.
Right.
We wanted this because, hey, this was our mission. We won 2 in different sports. We wanted a 3rd." And as he was saying it, he's showing off his rings. It was pretty cool.
You know what? And that's again a moment. I'll tell you what. I hated to lose to rivals. So Mesilla Valley would probably, it's hard to lose to your rival. It leaves a bad taste, but they competed hard. They were right there, and sometimes things happen. Someone has to lose, unfortunately.
Let's go to the 3A now, and it was Texaco. No problem with number 7 Capitan, 20-3 that final score.
Hey, you know what? The Wolverines really broke out the whooping sticks on that, 20-3. I think that was probably the largest margin that we heard all tournament long in the championship round.
4A, and this was probably the most, outside of the 6A, the most intriguing championship. Number 1, Hope Christian. Number 2, Portales. Is there a rolling R in Portales, by the way?
No. But if you ask, let me just put this, if you ask Manny Lucero, okay, for Manny Lucero, who I respect, love the guy, Ray, for him, it's Portales. And that's, and there could be.
Right.
There probably is. Everyone, I'm going to tell you that it is Portales.
That's always my running joke, so I had to say that.
But Manny Lucero is going to tell you that it is Portales. So
talk about a team that was on a mission. They wanted to win. Hope Christian was number 1 pretty much all season long. And to get there, they beat East Mountain 2-0, Nimi 10-9, and then Silver 18-10. Portales got there by beating Santa Fe Indian 2-0. Ruidoso 14-4. And St. Mike's in a close one, 4-3. Both semis were close. The finals were close, but Portales put together a final inning to get a couple of runs in that 7th inning. They win at 8-4.
And you know what? If you look at that, Hope Christian had and we're talking baseball here, because people might think, well, Hope Christian and Portales were 1 and 2 for basketball. They were. The Rams get a little bit of revenge from the basketball championship.
Right.
And I thought, again, I think Hope was wire to wire as far as the rankings. Were pretty much the Huskies were number 1 all year. So the Rams getting a measure of revenge there and winning the 4A championship.
In 5A, it was Goddard winning for the first time. They'd been in the championship game the last 3 years. They lost all 3 in 1-run games. They win this one over Academy, who defeated Goddard 2 years ago in the championship game, so they get some revenge. It was 10-3. Close game throughout, but Goddard did enough to put it away in the end.
Goddard broke it open there, I think, in the later part of the innings. So I was impressed with the Academy. I saw them at St. Pius. I had them in as I was doing the PA up there, and Marcus Parrish, their big left fielder, hit a 3-run shot on the first pitch, a rocket out to left field, also hit a double. He's a fine player, but give the Rockets credit here, Scott. You mentioned I think they won their 2nd in 3 years, or they beat the Academy as well a couple of years ago. So give them a lot of credit for their championship in 5A.
Yeah, their leader was Cal Villarreal on the hill and at the plate. He finishes off the year 7-2, and you know that he was very excited going into that championship game. And you know, you get past those jitters at the very beginning, and that's the whole thing, Ed. The key is to get past that first inning, and it turned out Academy was the home team, so Goddard. Goddard was a home team, so Academy was up first. So it was a matter of keeping Academy off the board. And once Goddard got on the board, you could see the comfort zone come in.
I kind of wondered how they pitched around Parrish because, like I said, this kid, you know, he's a big left fielder. Nicky Gato's a good hitter. They have some very
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think Parrish had a pretty big game actually.
Kids, like I said, he hit a rocket out there at St. Pius, as I mentioned. So, but give the Rockets credit. You get to the championship round, and you like you mentioned, you do enough to win and bring that home, that blue trophy. So give the Rockets credit.
Now let's go to the 6A game, and we do have highlights of this one. La Cueva finishes off the year with one loss. They end up 10-4 over Cleveland. Cleveland, by the way, won that game over Piedra Vista in the semis 10-2 to go 3-0 against Piedra Vista. And you see the game here, it was 10-4. The team in turquoise, well, no, that doesn't work. Both teams are wearing the same colors, but you see one team throwing up gloves as it was a big win for La Cueva. And I don't care. We saw the highlights of your game in softball 6A. I don't care if you're expected to win, like a lot of people expected La Cueva baseball and softball to win. The celebrations show otherwise, because that's the cool thing about high school. You know, it doesn't matter if you're expected. That last out is made, you're storming the field.
Oh, yeah, you know, and it's kind of strange for me to see both teams wearing the same colored jersey. Normally the officials will say, hey, look, this team is dark or it's in the bracket. So that was kind of strange to me to see that. But you know what, you're right. La Cueva had a heck of a season. They only lost one game, and that was to Valley. So Gerard Pineda, he's done, wow. And, you know, you mentioned the pitching they had, Schoenemann and Stroman, and you have arms like that. It's very tough. Schoenemann, I believe, was 10-0. And so he's a sophomore. And we just talked to Fred Holberg saying he throws a great curve, a change. He's only a sophomore. So they had an outstanding season. So you're right. A very tough quarterfinal, I believe, was against Cleveland. They win 1-0. Is that? I'm not sure if I'm right there.
Yeah, that was 1-0 against Rio Rancho in the quarterfinals, and then 5-3 against Carlsbad. So they didn't have an easy road.
No, they didn't.
Because they had to beat the defending champion. They had to beat Rio Rancho in a tough one, 1-0. They got that one run. And then the first game they played against Oñate. First two games they won 2-0 and 10-0.
Yeah, so the 10-0 game being a runaway, but they had some moments.
Yeah.
But the pitching, the defense, all those things, you know, the execution, stealing the bases, covering the bags, things like that. Gerard Pineda did a great job.
They had such a potent offense. It's not even funny. And then you throw in Stroman, you throw in the other pitchers. I mean, that's a 1-2-3 punch that this team had that you kind of saw it at the Metro Championship tournament where you knew, hey, this team's going to be, you know, right up there. They could probably win it, and they end up not so much rolling, but confident team. They ended up winning, and in their opinion, probably winning pretty easily.
Well, you know what? They only, like we mentioned, you know, Valley pitcher Daniel Martinez Romero was the only one to beat them. He's an outstanding lefty from Valley High School, but they lost. I can't remember early in the season, and after that, reeled off what 23 straight wins. I'm not sure how many, but that's a great team. That really is.
We'll take a quick break, come back with one more segment on the Sports Desk.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Las Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this? Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Hey Lobo fans, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Samantha.
Jaguar Land Rover Albuquerque has been a family-owned business since 1988. The 2017 Jaguar F-Pace has been named the winner of the 2017 World Car of the Year and World Car Design of the Year.
Land Rover's signature terrain response system is flawless against any curveball New Mexico weather can throw at you.
We have a class-leading extended warranty on all Jags and Land Rovers and one of the greatest pre-owned inventories in the state of New Mexico.
Call 505-797-3600 to schedule a test drive.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez. We have Josh Brown helping out. We have Alden Iowani, our director. And we got some track and field highlights, Ed, as we're going to go over. We're going to start with the 100, and this is all Jordan Bird on the 6A flight. And I'll tell you what a talented athlete. We're also going to do the 200 and the 4x1 as according to Josh, David Cormier had a big day as well. So here
Jordan
you go.
Bird, they're already in front with a
well, the guy well ahead of everybody. That's Jordan Bird.
Oh my goodness, and no surprise there. They had talked about that already.
How good is he? I mean, he's been that fast since a freshman. He gets faster and faster.
And only the sky's the limit. I really believe that. So. I don't know what the time was. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
So that was, I believe, the 200. That was the 100. So now we're going to do the 200 next. But man,
he was good ahead by at least a couple meters there.
Yeah, nothing like winning by about 10 yards.
Yeah. Could have pulled a Ben Johnson and looked back at him if he wanted to, but he didn't. Thank God.
So the 200-meter dash, that highlight is rolled along here. We should see runners here very shortly. There we go as they start. And, once again, just look for the guy, with dust in the background. That's Jordan Bird.
One for Bird in lane 3 and wide.
Once again, good crowd on hand.
Yeah, again, look at Bird. Wow. Man.
He won by even more in this one.
Yeah, he sure did. Oh, wow.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it's one thing the guy winning all these, and coming up next year we'll have the 4x1, and like Josh Brown said, David Cormier,
another
hand in this one.
Fantastic athlete, long strider, smooth.
I didn't even realize that he ran track.
Yes.
Did he just finish basketball?
Yeah, and football. So, yeah. 3 sports stars.
But usually football guys play track and field, so it doesn't surprise me. I just didn't realize it. But
as we all know who their anchor leg is, Jordan Bird.
These are events that you and I don't get to see because we were over at the baseball and softball the whole time. But
I love
track and field. And you could hear from the baseball and softball, and even from Mike-Stokes Park, the cheering from the track and field.
Oh yeah. And I think that I think this is the last leg here. And Cormier staked to a good lead by his Volcano Vista relay teammates out in the open there. Look at him, man.
You might see him carrying the ball a little bit at Air Force. What do you think?
Win that one.
You know what? That guy is such a phenomenal athlete, and the way he moves, and he's such a graceful runner on him and Jordan Bird.
Well, he doesn't get the credit for his speed.
No, you know what? I just go back to basketball, and I told my son this. Is he a natural basketball player? No. He's a natural athlete.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not downgrading his ability.
He's definitely a natural athlete.
If you think about it in the basketball tournament, one dribble, boom, explode at the rim. So the kind of runner, and I think you're right, over there at the Air Force, and I was kind of surprised he signed with them. I thought he might go to a place that might pass the ball a little bit more, but he's thinking academics more than anything, and I get that. But just a phenomenal performance by Cormier there, and I'm glad we got a chance to see that because he's such a natural. When you see him, I think even on the football field or basketball court or on the track field, you expect, okay, when's the wow moment coming? You don't want to miss it. Everyone's watching to say, okay, like Jordan Bird. you know, you're going to see something special, and you don't want to miss that. So
I'm going to give you a monkey wrench because I've talked to some folks, and when they answered the way they did, I was kind of surprised, but not surprised at the same time, because where he's going, he may have an opportunity to actually play football and basketball at Air Force.
Interesting. I mean, it's very tough to do that.
That's a school and that's an institution that they would allow you to play both sports.
I could definitely see that. I mean, it's hard.
Maybe that's why he signed there. I don't know.
That could be a reason, because you think about this. Okay, so in December.
Because watching him in the state championship game, especially when he just went off, and everyone knew him as a football player, and he's going off on the basketball court. I mean, let's face it, Dave Pilipovich could use some basketball players too.
There's no doubt about that, although I will say this, at that level there, you know, his athleticism and explosiveness, I get it. There's going to be some guys that are just as athletic and explosive as he is. He's going to have to refine some ball handling, turn and face, things like that.
Right.
I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability to do it, because this kid, when he makes a play, we're all left just with our jaws on the ground like, oh my goodness,
right.
Did you see that?
But
so
here's the reason why I think a lot of people that I've talked to believe that it might be the case. Air Force isn't known for having above-the-rim guys, and he's an above-the-rim guy.
Absolutely.
They're known for three-point shooting. They're known for that Princeton offense moving the ball around. They don't have that rim grabber. They've only had a few over the years. They've had some good ones, but he could be one.
Remember, he has to fit into that system, and I think he could. But I think he gives them a definite wild card, like, okay, we've got this, but check that out. I mean, that guy, like we said, when he goes to the rim and attacks, my goodness, you better get out of the way.
Speaking of check it out, how about the New Mexico Lobo baseball team? Their percentage points, because of that rain out and because of that tie, ahead of San Diego State. San Diego State lost one game over the weekend against Air Force on the road. They came back and destroyed Air Force the last two games. But how about the Lobos? They get swept by Fresno State. They actually lose the season series 4-2 against Fresno State, and they fall from 38th in the RPI to 49th in the RPI.
That hurt. They definitely did, but I think the thing that hurt the Lobos and will hurt the Lobos even more is the injury to Jack Zellner.
Oh, yes.
12 homers, 63 RBIs. They moved Andre Gregory to third base, and they're going to move Carl Stadgerhart to first, but not having Zellner's bat in the lineup is going to hurt them very badly.
It's going to hurt them a lot.
I hate to say that.
It is going to hurt them a lot. And the thing is, there's a couple of scenarios. They can either go 3-0 against Nevada this week. They can go 2-1 and hope that San Diego State either goes 0-3 or 1-2 or whatever. If they lose one game and San Diego State sweeps, guess what? The Mountain West tournament is in San Diego.
I'll tell you what, Scott, it's hard to depend on other teams. It really is, and that they've
been lucky with San Diego State losing a couple of games to UNLV, and then that one the other day. They got blown out 10-1 against Air Force, and then they pounded Air Force the final two games.
Well, the game that we did hit well, the pitching at UNM wasn't very good. So hopefully this weekend's a key series. So I hope that and they played well. We want them to do well. So Lobo fans, and they've been attending. The attendance over there at Santa Ana Starfield has been very good. So
they need your help this week because they need to win 3 games or at least go 2-1 and hope the San Diego State goes 2-1. Otherwise, the Lobos will be looking at going to San Diego for the tournament. Either way, they can win the tournament because they're still on paper the best team. Ed, this will do it for the show. Your thoughts on what's been going on?
Well, you know what, Scott, what a wrap. Baseball. We wrapped up football, basketball, now softball, track, baseball. It's been a whirlwind, man, and we're going to start all over again in June, according to what Steve Davis said. So,
want to thank Alden Iowani, Josh Brown, and Tom for helping us out here on the show. For Ed Nunez, and by the way, thanks to Fred Hultberg for joining us here on the opening segment. I'm Scott Coletti saying so long. We'll talk to you next week on the Sports Desk.